So Alex, what are we talking about today?
Today we're going to cover image bakeries.
Fantastic topic.
Yeah.
So when we talk about image bakeries, what are we talking about?
Okay, so we're talking about distributing compute images to be consumed across cloud, right? So that can come in a multitude of ways. That can be making sure that bespoke tooling is on images that can be deployed into virtual machines.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, an application team need a very specific amount of tooling to build their apps.
Right, okay.
But we're also looking at things like golden images and making sure that things are hardened to specific standards so that we're in compliance and considering governance.
I see, so images to run our workloads on top.
Absolutely right, yeah.
Awesome.
So we can consider this. Let's start with our kind of gallery of images, if you like.
Okay.
So within this, we're going to have a few kind of base images.
So okay, like Windows, Linux.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly
okay.
Right. So let's say this one we've got Linux, this one we've got Windows.
Sure.
Right? So these are our what we call our base images, the ones in red.
Right.
And they're the ones that we're going to harden to a specific standard. Now, what hardening means is stripping out a lot of the functionality that comes with a generic marketplace image. So
Right.
let's say you get Ubuntu. For Linux, comes with a load of stuff inbuilt into it,
Yeah.
comes with a load of settings, comes with a load of stuff opened up that you want to lock down.
Yeah,
Okay.
stuff that you don't need.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
stuff that poses a security risk
Yeah,
when you're using the
yeah,
system.
yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So what we want to do is, as part of a bakery process to actually create these images, lock that stuff down
Okay.
and produce a golden image version. And
Right.
the same thing applies to Windows or other flavors of Linux.
Yeah.
Okay.
So having the bare minimum that we need to run our workloads.
Exactly right. Yeah. So these base images we call kind of golden images.
Okay. Great name.
Yeah. Yeah. So golden, mastered, whatever you want to call them, the base you're starting with. So if we look at our consuming teams, let's say we've got an app team here and I don't know, we've got a platform team here, right?
Okay.
So they're going to have different use cases for these images. The platform team, they may need to use them as build agents for their DevOps processes.
Okay. So like DevOps agents and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay.
To deploy out, your Terraform or Bicep or whatever it is, infrastructure as code.
Right.
Make sure that we've got the right tooling, so maybe the Azure or AWS CLIs.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're going to have a different requirement, but we still need to make sure that we're basing it off this.
Yeah.
Okay. So for them, we may create a new kind of image on top, so we can layer these up.
Okay.
So we may create a DevOps image, right?
Yeah.
So on top of our base Linux image, which we know is hardened to our certain standard, we're going to apply the tooling that they need, and that may be installing Terraform, that may be installing the CLIs that I just mentioned, maybe you've got Docker on there to build some container images, stuff like that, okay? This then becomes their resource to consume. I mean, this can be consumed by any of the other teams as well.
Yeah. But it's got everything they need baked in.
Exactly right, yeah. So let's say we've got an app team now, right?
Yeah.
Let's say they're building an application that requires a certain type of tooling to build. Let's say they need Visual Studio Code or something.
Right, okay.
Okay. So they're going to have their own image. Let's just, for the sake of argument, call that a dev image.
Yeah.
They maybe need to access that to do some machine builds.
Right.
Okay. For the sake of argument, we'll base that off the same Linux image, just to prove the point you can have multiple flavors.
Yeah.
Again, same hardened image, same golden image we're using, but there's going to be a different subset of tooling on there. Okay.
Okay. So this looks great, Alex, but one question. So if I consume, in the context of Azure, if I consume directly from the marketplace for my images,
Yep.
right, I'm getting all the good updates that are pushed out via Microsoft to their gallery. How do I maintain our golden images to make sure that, the image we're consuming and building on top of here is the latest and greatest image? How do we kind of manage that? Because this looks like, well, we have to manage that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And one thing to mention about that latest patches and latest updates that you get from the marketplace images, yes, however, you are not in control of that process. So you will get whatever the latest versions of the tooling that you have on that image you get from the marketplace regardless, right?
Okay.
So you rebuild a machine with a marketplace image, you get a load of updated tooling.
Right.
If the devs, for example, they need a specific tooling version with a specific set of parameters.
Things can break.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Meaning you have to backtrack, you have to change your versioning, so you can get into a bit of trouble with that. However, yes, you do have to manage this process. And the way we manage this is via code and via a tool like Packer, let's take for example.
Yeah, the HashiCorp tool, right?
Exactly right, yeah. So we'll have scripts baked into our DevOps process to
Yeah.
ensure that this is all repeatable as code. And what we'll do is pin particular versions that we know are either secure and safe. So when we're talking about security incidents that come up, happens a lot, right, with different tooling. We want to make sure we're pinning to a version. We're not just taking latest. And updating those regularly. So we'll make sure that we pin the versions, pin our hardening scripts and how we want that set up so it's repeatable as a process. And what we also want to do is automate pulling in some of the OS level patches.
Okay.
So that these images are rebuilding on a regular basis and new versions are pushed out.
Ah, perfect. So you could do this on, say, like a nightly build?
Exactly right, yeah.
Right, okay.
You can do it nightly, you can do it weekly, you could even do it monthly depending on what tooling is involved. One thing to note is there needs to be a response time to critical vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
These come out all of the time. And just in the same way as if you were consuming a marketplace image, you'd need to update that pretty quick, fast to address some vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
You need to do that if you're orchestrating your own images here.
That makes sense. I guess everyone has different compliance requirements, things like cyber essentials, but addressing certain vulnerabilities within X amount of days. And yeah, that makes perfect sense, Alex.
Exactly right, yeah. So actually, what we want to make sure is that all of this, so this whole kind of process, we wrap that up in our DevOps tooling. Okay. So making sure that we've got those triggered builds, making sure that we've got this as code so that we can push out new versions as we need to. Okay. In terms of these images, so I've taken these away because let's say we need a new version, yellow for the purposes of visuals. We've got version 1.1 now, right? Okay. That's still our underlying base. Okay. So next time they spin up their agents or their build tooling,
they get the new one.
Exactly right.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love this, Alex. It's great to have all this defined in a single source of truth.
Exactly.
And delivering it like we deliver any other code. Makes perfect sense. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, James.